for Writers, a book that when I was in undergraduate years was about that big, but is now this massive volume. And so we're going to go over some brief ideas on how you can use it as history majors. In terms of getting reference materials, just when you quickly need to fix something or find something, the easiest way to do it is to go to the web, and they have Kate Turabian, A Manual for Writers, the website. It's part of the Chicago Manual Style. Chicago Manual Style is the professional version of Turabian. Turabian's the version for students. But you can just simply go to that link or easily enough search Turabian notes bibliography style, and there it will be. You do need to make sure that you search for notes bibliography style. There's an alternative set of citations that we don't use. What you want is notes bibliography style. Why do you have to use Turabian? And this is one of those questions that comes up a lot because, frankly, students hate Turabian, or at least that's been my experience. There's two reasons. First reason is because we said so. Historians use Turabian or Chicago Manual Style, and that's just the way it is. There's no way to avoid it. In addition to that, the reason why historians use Turabian is because it's the only citation system that actually deals with the full range of sources that historians use. You can get a citation properly from this book that will tell you how to do everything from a radio broadcast to a court case, to a document in an archive, to an Instagram photo. You name it, it's in here somehow. So that's why we use it, because unlike other fields where they basically just use articles to refer to, we use lots of stuff. That's what it means to be a historian. And we need a flexible citation system to make it work. When you're taking notes or you're using a source, make sure you get who created it. And that would basically be the author in most cases, but it could also be the accountant. It could be, in the case of if it's a letter, you're going to want to have both sides. But when was it created? Where was it published, if it was published? So that would be the journal. That would be the publisher for a book. That would be the website for something online. And how can you find it? Where can it be found? So that might be page numbers. That might be the URL. In the case of a journal article, it might be the DOI, which is a permanent code which allows you to find an online journal article, even if the URL changes. The complicated bit is that we have two types of citations. We have notes. Hi. And we have bibliographies. And they're not the same. And so if we take a look here, I've given 3 citations. And believe it or not, it's actually helpful to look at and try to figure out something before you learn about it. So look at these 3 citations. Are they bibliography citations or note citations? So we'll start with Jessica Marie Johnson. Is that a note or a bibliography style citation? Okay. No, like I said, the whole point is to get it into your mind, so you're ready to remember when we go over the answers. Second, Paul R. Mullins and his co-authors. And once again, try to think, bibliography or citation. And then our third one, Pramila Madison, expanding the boundaries of the women's movement. Now, if you're to go back and look at those, and hopefully you've taken a moment and tried to figure it out for yourself, top one, bibliography. Second one, bibliography. Third one, notes. And we'll take a moment here and go over the differences. Basic differences here. Anytime you're looking at a note, like an endnote or a footnote, you put the first name first. So you just give the name in order. If it's in a bibliography, you put the last name first. So last name, comma, first name. And if there are multiple authors or editors, you would go last name, comma, first name, comma, and then you would give everybody's name, first name, last name order. So that part's a little confusing, but bibliography, last name first, notes, first name first. You use a comma between the author and the title in notes. You use a period between the author and the title, and actually between the title and the publishing information, and bibliography. I sort of think of that as indicating it's a more formal thing because it's a period rather than a comma. There are parentheses around the publication data. In notes, no parentheses in the bibliography. And then the final indication, I don't know how well you can see this, but is the hanging indent. And I wasn't able to use hanging indents on any of the slides because PowerPoint wouldn't let me. But the name sticks out. And that's an essential point for a bibliography. It's not used in notations.
The name isn't used in notation?
Yeah, you don't use the hanging indent format in notes. You just let it flow like a sentence. So that's the big distinctions. And then we'll just take a look at some of these just to review the process of citing. So just to give you some ideas about books. And you can see this, and once again, it's not hanging indented because of PowerPoint, but that's the bibliography, that's the bibliography. That's note text citation, footnote or endnote, and that's footnote or endnote. Journal articles. Once again, you see here the format for a bibliography. It's got the last name first. It's got periods there and there. And it should be hanging indented. And then down here, where it's a note, first name first, and it's missing a period after A, comma after the name, and then before the journal. And then we get into the crazy world of internet and social media. And I really recommend you checking this with the citation guide anytime you're trying to do it, because it has changed in every new edition of Turabian for the last few editions, I think. But basically, you have here the author, the title of the page, the website, the date, and the URL. That's bibliography. That's for notes, but you can see it's pretty much the same thing. Google privacy policy. That's bibliography, that's notes. And then this is for an Instagram photo. So basically what we need to have for these is we need to have the page, title or description, the person or organization that puts it up there, the website and the date, along with the citation. I mean the URL.
Page, title, description, website, and name of person,
Name of the creator.
creator. And is website URL the same thing?
No, because
The website would be the name of the actual website itself, like Instagram. The URL is a user requested link, which is the direct access link to.
Okay.
You put the URL into the search box, it'll go directly to that exact page.
yeah, nicely done. Okay, this is one other thing I wanted to go over. And you may or may not have been taught about IBID in your education. If you haven't been taught about IBID, ignore this part. But if you have been taught about IBID, or actually in general in terms of repeated footnotes or endnotes, this can be useful. The first time you use a footnote or endnote, you give the complete citation, all of it, everything that's involved. The second time and third time and fourth time and fifth time, what you do nowadays is you give the author, the title, and if it has it, a page. And that would be, and it's a shortened version of the title. So in this case, we've just taken the first part of the book title. In this case, we've taken the most important part of the article title, just enough that the reader can figure out what they're looking back to. Now, what people used to do was say IBID instead. So we just cited this previously. IBID says go back to the last time we cited it. The advantage of doing it this way is if you're ever copy pasting or rearranging stuff in your essay, you may rearrange the footnotes. If you rearrange the footnotes, suddenly that IBID, that go back to the last one, is no longer referring to the correct citation. So this makes it so no matter what you do to rearrange stuff, you're good, you're safe. And so basically, just to go over this very briefly, make sure that you look up the Citation Quick Guide, the one that's at Chicago Manual Style. I would strongly suggest you use the one at Chicago Manual Style. I know a lot of different programs have their own versions of that. You can type in Turabian, it'll give you lots of different versions of how to do the citations. But the advantage of doing it from the Chicago Manual Style website is that they are the people who publish the book. So they are always going to be up to date. They're always going to be accurate. And you can also find it by just searching for Turabian Notes Bibliography Style. I would also say, if you're a history major, go ahead and buy a copy. It's not that much money, and it's actually going to be useful all the way. So I think it's worth it. I've always had, let me see. I'm not even sure how many editions I've gone through at this point, but it's nice. You have it on your shelf. You can always refer to it. I know that in your research seminar and historiography class, we assign it, but of course, that's just an ebook copy and you're not allowed to keep it. So it might be worth investing in. So that's the Turabian system. Do you have questions?
Again, sorry for coming in late. What did I miss before I came in?
Not much.
Okay.
Just basically, just the general, make sure that you always get the creator. And I'm saying creator because it could be an author, but if it's a song, it's the person who wrote the song. If it's a letter, it's the two people corresponding. You know, it's always, you know, in some cases it's an organization, if it's like a government document. But the creator of it, you always want to get. You always want to get the title. And that would be, in most cases, the book title, the journal article title, but also the song title, the movie title, all of those kinds of things. You want to make sure that you get the date it was created. Always. And you want to get the publication information. In the case of a book, that's the publisher. And at least at this point in time, you want the publisher and you also want the city where the publisher is located. I'm willing to bet that will no longer be the case whenever the next edition comes out, but at this point in time, they do want the city where the publisher is located, or the journal title, or the page numbers, just sort of what you need to locate what you're working with. In the case of if it's an archival document, that means that you will write down where it is located in the archive. And actually, for a lot of things on the web, they may actually give you citation information. So you can draw on that and then just make sure it's in the proper format. Other questions?
When Dr. Cotton had been like, oh, something's on Turabian, I was like, what is that? I had never heard
Uh-huh.
of it. I was kind of thinking it was also like a formatting of the actual writing itself.
That is in there too.
Okay.
And depending on your professor, they're going to want you to follow that exactly. And that's where it's actually useful to get the book, because they actually have a chapter in which they, appendix, paper format and submissions.
Okay.
And it literally goes through margins, font spacing, and they show you how to do a title page and a table of contents and the other essential things. Depends on your professor, but I know, for example, Dr. Turnipseed wants you to follow that.
Okay. So I wouldn't do like an MLA format and then have Turabian style.
For the most part, the actual layout of the papers are basically the same. It'll come down to things like whether or not you capitalize the title, or if you put them offset or center them. That's the minor differences, which are usually not that big of a thing, but it is the citations which become big. So MLA
Right.
has a lot of in-text, which we don't use. There's an in-text version, but we use the footnotes, endnotes version.
Okay.
Basically, the thing is that MLA, but even more, MLA is sort of in between. But if you look at like APA or any kind of citation system for the sciences, they are made to get you journal articles. And they're made to get you to journal articles which basically have one argument. So it doesn't matter if you get to the specific page number, because what you want is that general argument in that journal article. So you just need the author, the date, the title. That's all you need. Historians, we do a lot of stuff. So you need much more detailed information. And frankly, our journal articles tend to have a lot of stuff in them, multiple arguments, multiple points, multiple examples. So you need that page number to get you there, not to mention books, which are really elaborate.
What do you mean?
Oh, just in terms of the amount that's covered in a book. Once again, if you're told, I don't know, Brave New World 1939, and I've probably got that year wrong, Aldous Huxley, that's not going to tell you anything useful, which is why we do Turabian.
I've always had a problem with actually having footnotes within my papers.
Uh-huh.
I don't really know how to do that. I know you showed some examples of what they look like.
Right.
Maybe I could just look for some examples within text so I can have a better idea of how that looks.
Yeah. Generally, footnotes are actually pretty easy nowadays.
Yeah, I'm intimidated because I'm not familiar yet.
Yeah. You go to the insert menu and you scroll down, and one of the options will be footnotes or endnotes. And I can't be more specific because there's different menus.
And endnotes, good people. Footnotes.
That's different than header and footer.
Yeah, those are different.
Yeah.
You don't actually just go and start typing at the bottom. You'll insert, reference, footnote, or endnote, and then we'll put deciding on which one you do, either at the bottom of the page or at the end of the page, the end of the chapter, end of the page. You want to make sure you put that endnote or footnote though at the end of each sentence.
Yeah.
So that you don't put it directly in the middle of the paragraph or middle of the sentence or middle of the close. You have to put it
Even if I quote something from something I'm going to reference, but there's more.
Then it would be at the end of the sentence. There is sometimes, if you're quoting a lot of different things, you might put a single footnote at the end of the paragraph. But if you're doing a specific quotation, I'd put it at the end of the sentence. But the great advantage of doing that insert, reference, footnote, or endnote is your word processor will automatically keep them in order. So when you go and add in a new footnote, it'll say, oh, renumber. I mean, I actually had a professor in graduate school who, when he did his book in the 1970s, somebody screwed up and they added an extra footnote. And they couldn't mess with it because it was all laid out for publishing. And so he actually had to make up a footnote just to make the whole publishing thing work. Yeah, but for us, it automatically renumbers. That's the other reason to avoid the IBID thing, is so that it's always relevant, no matter where it is.
The footnotes and endnotes also allow you to get extra information. So you can actually start writing different things like who argues what, or these different things, these different articles or books. So-and-so says this, or so-and-so says this. There's a conflict here or here. So it allows you to use that for extra information, not just for bibliographical information.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also, if you need to, cite multiple things. So, we can see examples of this in this article, this article, this article, this article. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. Yeah, I think once you've tried it, I think you'll find there's some real advantages to the system. But yeah, well, and this is the kind of stuff we're really doing it is the way to do it. But
I'm just curious why there's so many pages when what you show me, what I think I need is really just 2 to show me the format. What is the rest of that text?
The rest of that text is a couple of things. There's stuff about how to design a research paper,
Oh, okay.
which is the first section. And then a lot of it is every single variation that there might be. Is your book translated? Is it an edited book? Are you citing the chapter within the book? Is this the 12th edition? When was it originally published? I mean, just, it's incredibly detailed. And it's not written, it's not organized like the citation part of it is not organized like a book that you just read straight through. It's very organized in terms of 14.3 is translation and 14.4 is edit. I mean, you get the picture, so you can really just go specifically to the exact thing you need.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. But I'm sort of an evangelist for Turabian, so.
Okay. You seem passionate about it. I just think I know that I've kind of like gotten by on what, I don't know, what appears to be a decently written paper, but as I continue in my studies, there's going to be the expectation of like consistency and
Yeah, you're gonna have to face it regardless, because you're gonna have to do a senior thesis, and that's when it really becomes a pain. Plus, we're trying as professors to be more consistent about requiring Turabian from our majors and other courses. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you. You can bring it to an end.